Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar on Secure CD at Scale with Octopus Deploy. And joining us today, HashiCorp, specifically HashiCorp Vault. Okay. Before we jump into the session and the agenda, I'm going to open with this slide. And if you remember anything, remember this picture, okay? Every org has their own special pipeline, and typically they're distilled down to these 6 things, okay? Plan, code, secure, build, deploy, and host. And our argument that kind of deploy in a box is not solved. And today we're going to show you how Octopus Deploy and HashiCorp can solve the pain of managing secrets at scale and also deployments at scale. And how would you solve this scenario? Okay, so have a think about how you would solve this scenario. Your secure CTO sent you a message saying, we need to stop storing secrets in our spreadsheet or local configuration files. And by the way, I've been guilty of that in the past. Have a think about the tools that you have in your toolbox now and how you would solve that. And in particular, the last point as well in the text message, we need to be able to rotate those secrets, okay, without disrupting the application. So have a quick think on that. So we're going to break this session down into 2 parts. We're going to do a kind of introduction to Octopus Deploy and HashiCorp, who we are, then talk about some challenges with kind of application deployments and secret deployments. Then we're going to walk you through the kind of path to secure deployments, okay? You have this big mountain at the top and you're at the bottom and you want to manage secrets at scale in the best possible way. But you don't have to do everything kind of all at once. So we're going to take you through a phased approach, a kind of walk, run, and sprint, okay? So let's introduce ourselves and who we are. So I'm Adam Close. I'm a senior solutions engineer here at Octopus Deploy. I've been here just over 5 years now. It was 5 years in October. Prior to that, I've had lots of different roles in the various different development teams. And I'd like to introduce my friend from HashiCorp, Graham. How are you doing today, Graham?
I'm well. Thank you, Adam. I'm really pleased to be here. Octopus Deploy is a really highly valued partner of HashiCorp's. I'm a big fan. I've used it in my previous life as a DevOps architect and DevOps engineer. Yeah, and I'm excited to talk about how HashiCorp and Octopus operate better together. I am a staff resident architect here at HashiCorp. I've been here a couple of years now. What a resident architect does is we're embedded with our largest customers. Think huge banks, people that are defending themselves from foreign adversaries and have a absolutely humongous blast radius when it comes time to try and secure their secrets. And so, yeah, I mean, I've seen it all. I've seen 99 wrong ways of doing it, and I'm here to talk about the right ways. So yeah, excited to get into it.
So you've seen the secrets managed in a Google Doc, then, right?
Man, so as an app developer myself, I'm guilty of the same thing, right? It's not because app developers are trying to do it wrong that things wind up in spreadsheets or GitHub repos. Making it private isn't better, right? Like you're slacking your passwords around and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, it can be daunting to know where to get started. And HashiCorp Vault has historically been kind of a behemoth that can be a little bit intimidating, but Vault Dedicated is a cloud SaaS offering that it's got a free sign up. It's easy to get started. So yeah, I think with this webinar, people are going to be able to learn. It's not super hard to get started. to run, walk, and then sprint.
No, you're right. And I think with that, let's do now there'll be some Octopus customers on this session, and there'll also be some HashiCorp ones. But let's do a quick recap on who Octopus is to kind of start with. And when you think about Octopus as the CD at scale tool. So like you would think Jira is for planning and GitHub is for coding, Octopus is that tool for CD at kind of scale. Okay. And bringing you back to that first slide that I talked about. Okay. If devs write code, okay, the CI server handles that and builds it, runs some tests, and packages that application. Then Octopus picks it up from there and deploys that out to your infrastructure, wherever your infrastructure is, AWS, Azure, GCP, virtual machines, anything for container orchestration, whether it's ECS or Kubernetes, okay? And Octopus simplifies that orchestration of your deployments, right? And then you've got HashiCorp there being the kind of main player in the kind of security of managing those secrets, right? So with that, Graham, I'll pass to you and to kind of do a quick intro into HashiCorp.
Yeah, so HashiCorp, many people know as the makers of Terraform. Grew up as an open source company, and some people are old heads like me. You remember Vagrant? We've been playing in the infrastructure lifecycle management space and security lifecycle management space for over 10 years now, and we're about to take the next step on our journey, hopefully, fingers crossed, by being acquired by IBM, and being able to leverage their deep pockets to just keep doing what we're doing. Good. Next slide, please. Right. So I talked about infrastructure lifecycle management, security lifecycle management. The application lifecycle management is obviously where Octopus lives. And so this is, these solutions go hand in hand. It's a natural fit, right? So application lifecycle management, code, test, and deploy. Adam talked about that. Infrastructure lifecycle management, right? This is actually deploying and managing and configuring your multi-cloud environment. And that's really where Terraform shines. And then today's integration, we're talking about security lifecycle management. That's HashiCorp Vault dedicated. You connect to machine. It's easy to automate. It's all API driven. It has best-in-class policy management. It allows you to use identity-based authentication, and it has audit trail, observability, native integrations with Prometheus, Grafana, Slack, Splunk. It really it provides a holistic solution for your secrets, which again, right, it's fully featured, so it can be a little bit intimidating to get started. But with the cloud offering and with Octopus kind of helping you take your first steps, I think it's a lot easier than you might think. Go ahead.
Yeah, all those features kind of it's a little bit like Octopus, kind of being best of breed at CD. HashiCorp being best of breed of managing infrastructure and security, right? And I think that's our next session, something on the kind of infrastructure lifecycle management, but we'll not talk about that just yet.
Yeah.
So I'll move on to the next one for you.
Yes, please. Yeah, so this is just a real quick primer for what is Vault. Vault is your secrets management hub. You use it to connect to anything, really. It's API driven. It can maintain static secrets. It can maintain dynamic secrets, which are just-in-time credentials that live just for the lifetime of your automated process. That's something that we're not going to cover today, but that's a natural extension for Octopus workflows. What is so powerful about it is that it's authentication is it plugs into your existing identity management solution, so you don't have to you can bring Okta to the party. You don't need to create another set of credentials that you have to manage. So yeah, that's a bit about Vault. Next slide, please. So Vault was first offered as a standalone binary. It was open source at first, and then HashiCorp started offering an enterprise version of it, which is designed to be self-hosted, and that is that is for banks with $3 trillion under management, right? Like, it's for people that have an entire ops team dedicated to operating just HashiCorp Vault by itself. They're a SaaS startup within their company. So there was a need, obviously, to provide a cloud-based SaaS offering, and that's what HCP Vault Dedicated is. And it's free to sign up. You get a free trial. So it's really easy to start your journey with managing your secrets. Good.
So that's fully kind of cloud-based then, right? The dedicated.
Yeah, exactly. It's entirely a SaaS offering. It can be hosted in AWS or Azure. You get your own private VPC. It's dedicated to you, where it's completely isolated from the other tenants. So it certainly helps alleviate some of the concerns that people have about storing their secrets in the cloud.
Yeah. That was my next question. Do you get much pushback on it being cloud hosted? You obviously get people use it.
So yeah. When I'm making my rounds at big banks, universally everybody wants to use it, but for regulatory and compliance purposes, and not to run afoul of various federal governments, sometimes people are forced to host their own vault. But if you can get away with it, you definitely want to use the SaaS offering. It greatly simplifies the management of things. I spend a lot of my days trying to help people reverse some of the missteps that they've taken when self-hosting Vault. So start with Vault Dedicated. If for whatever reason you are forced to self-host, contact HashiCorp Professional Services. We'll help you along that journey.
No, cool. Thanks for answering that. I'll move on to the next slide for you.
Yeah, I covered most of this. It's single tenant. Everything's encrypted at rest. It's production hardened. It helps you answer your CISO in terms of compliance. I won't run down the list, but if you go to the URL I showed before, it solves your problem. And this is the problem that you were talking about, Adam, where developers want to try and do the right thing, but in order to actually engineer their application, which is their job function, sometimes they're tempted and forced to cut corners. The CISO, on the other hand, hands down a set of compliance rules and regulations that make it so that if there's a breach, the blast radius is small. The chances of a breach are dramatically reduced, things like that. And so there's, I know you're going to talk about this, but there's this tension between doing what is easiest and best for app development and doing what is most secure and most robust for the enterprise. And so I think HCP Vault Dedicated tries to thread that needle a little bit, where it helps. It answers a lot of the compliance and regulatory and observability concerns that people have.
And so one thing I'm seeing at Octopus now is kind of this big uptick in more people moving to kind of secret management. These kind of mandates that we talked about in this text message I shared, where, hey, we need the ability to rotate. Is this something you're seeing more and more now?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. That is how this happens, right? Like, um, again, developers start in dev, right? And they've got their secret and they just kind of like hard code it in their JDBC URL and check it in. And you know, rotating a secret, rotating a password is a nuisance, right? There's no way
Mhm.
around it. And what Vault is designed to do is to help ease the pain of complying with what is the right thing to do, and then also what are the rules of your enterprise. And
Mhm.
so if this hasn't happened to you yet, you have to, in devs, it's going
It's coming.
to.
It's coming.
Somebody's going to show up in your inbox and say, "Hey, bud, that database account that you haven't rotated in 2 years, gonna need you to go
Yes.
ahead and throw that in the vault."
Try longer. Try 10
Yeah,
years plus.
right. Exactly.
Cool.
I
Okay.
need to
So
move on.
yeah. So let's talk about challenges around deploying secrets and managing those secrets and deployments at scale. Right. Everyone's seen this. Deployments can be straightforward. Dev writes some code, the script to deploy it, and the journey is smooth and pretty uneventful. Right. Does it ever stay like that? No. You've got your script to deploy. You may have additional infrastructure you need to deploy. So you may have a database that you need to kind of deploy, multiple customers, and the complexity starts to creep in, right? You may have schema changes for your database. You have your different secrets that you need to deploy as part of your application. And that one smooth deployment process that we had now has kind of bumps in the road and things to consider, especially when you talk about kind of, the dev wants to go quick, and then you've got on the other side enterprise that wants to do it safely. Those bumps in the road start to happen, and it gets harder as you grow and scale. You can see here the growing pains that are a result of scaling. Okay, you've got your application deployed to multiple clouds, right? Which is very common these days, where our customers don't want to be vendor locked into Azure or AWS or GCP. So now they've got to deploy it to multiple different cloud locations. They potentially have to deploy it to customer infrastructure in a kind of the multi-tenancy model. Okay, so you've got all these scripts now doing these blue-green canary deployments for all these different end infrastructure. Plus, you're getting your secrets potentially from a spreadsheet, or you're deploying through an app config, and it kind of this scale causes multiple layers of complexity. And what happens is it takes a lot longer for the developer to get their code out into production, right? And there is great news. This is what Octopus Deploy and Vault together aim to solve, right? Vault being the single platform for secret management. Okay, that source of truth, all different types of secrets. So I'd like to ask you a question about that in a second, Graham, about the different types of secrets. But Octopus being the single deployment automation platform that in some cases could orchestrate the secrets from Vault to the end infrastructure, also deploying all the applications as well. Okay. So yeah, I had a quick question about that, Graham. When we say secrets, what type of secrets can we store in Vault?
Yeah, I mean, you name it. The most basic kind of secret is just a generic key value, and this is, you know, this is anything from your login to your Salesforce portal, to a Google Maps API key, right? That's something that
Mhm.
I found myself needing to generate and then store somewhere. And I was just I was guilty of all of the transgressions that we've been talking about.
Mhm.
If I'd had Vault dedicated, I would absolutely put it in there and gotten it out of Vault. Um,
Yeah.
Service accounts, right? So a lot of times, your company will ask you to provision uh, an Azure service account, for example. It's got a username and a password, or it's got a app ID and a secret ID. Those things can go into Vault, as well, and where Vault really shines is when Vault is actually the source of it is the source of truth. I mean, you've mentioned that before, but it's the broker of those credentials. So if all of your applications are talking to Vault for all of their credentials, now you've suddenly got centralized auditability and observability. You've got centralized policy management that ties the ability to access certain credentials for my app, but not the credentials for your app. All of that is made possible by centralizing the focus of your secrets on Vault, and that combats what we call secret sprawl. Right, all of the cloud infrastructure that you see on the right. If your AWS credentials are generated and managed by Vault, then Vault will rotate the passwords for you, and you never have to deal with it again, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, how many of you have you've got a work calendar that we're like just sprinkled with rotate the certificate. That's another thing that Vault is good at, is managing PKI certificates. Rotate the password for the various AWS accounts, right? The list goes on. So putting all that stuff in Vault, letting Vault manage it, dramatically simplifies your credentials management nightmare, right? It solves it for you.
Yeah. Yeah, and then I think this kind of brings us to kind of the next point here. I stole this slide from a colleague, right? Kind of reducing needless creativity by balancing speed and safety. Okay, on the one hand, you've got kind of Vault, you provide all this security and all this compliance, which is great. But from a developer perspective, sometimes it's like, okay, here's another tool that's coming into the organization that I've now got to deal with, right? So a developer just kind of, for his deployments, he wants speed, simplicity, and convenience, right? And they achieve that through various different methods, whether being agile or following DevOps methodologies or GitOps. And then on the other side, from an enterprise organization, or in this case, potentially a SecOps team, right? They want to do those deployments and those secret deployments safely. They're scalable, and they're compliant. Okay, and they do that with approvals and audit and things along those lines. And you kind of have these two people, these two teams going, no, we want to go fast. We want to go slowly and safely. Okay, well, then you get this kind of productivity pendulum, right? Okay, where it's kind of going back and forth between going fast and going slow and safe, right? And my question is, okay, why not be able to do both, right? And I want to talk, we don't want to talk about this just yet, but towards the end of the presentation, I want to show you how we can make that introduction of a Vault easier for developers and kind of reduce that cognitive load so the enterprise can go fast and secure, okay? So let's get into it now. Let's talk about this path to secure deployment, right? And let's talk about the transformation journey. Greg, do you want to pick this slide up and talk about the walk, run, and sprint stages?
Yeah. So this is the bread and butter of a HashiCorp professional services resident architect, right? Like, it's really no matter who you are and no matter what stage you are, what scale you are, it can be intimidating to adopt industry best practices right off the bat. It's very tempting to be like, well, my enterprise is unique. My needs are unique. So starting with a walk, run, sprint mentality helps break it down and kind of lower the barrier of entry, really, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, walk is the first step, right? So the first step is admitting that you've got a problem, right? It's the first step is, I should probably rotate that password. Yeah, right. Yeah. So the crawl step is, I should probably not just be so cavalier about my secrets management. So the walk step is leveraging your automation platform to manage the delivery of some secrets, right? Automatically, that constrains the audience to which the secrets are exposed, which means it's not public. Your automation platform, Octopus Deploy, securely delivers the secrets to your application. But there's a cost to this, which is everything's done manually. Nothing's hooked up to any other automation platform. It's difficult to rotate. So how can we improve on that process? The run version of this is Octopus, HashiCorp Vault, better together, right? Octopus will broker access to Vault on behalf of an application, right? So I've got my Docker container. It needs a token to start up. Whereas in Walk, I just typed out the value of that token, and Octopus delivered that value to my application. Now in Run, I'm saying, okay, what I'd like to do is, Octopus, I want you to go get whatever the value of this token is from Vault at this time. And I'm going to manage that token offline so I can rotate it, and I can govern its policy separately there. And we can actually elevate the level of detail that we use to manage that secret. It's much easier to rotate. You have policy-based access, but the downside is your rotation schedule is now synced to your app deployment schedule. And so this may be something that app developers will pick up on, because they're like, I don't want to have to do a redeployment every time. Like if I'm doing trunk-based deployments, I don't want to be tied to a secrets rotation schedule to do my deployment, and vice versa. Like my CISO is like, you have to rotate this production credential every, 6 hours, right? I'm not deploying my app every 6 hours. That's not feasible. So the sprint version of this looks like separation of concerns. Vault Secrets Operator and its sort of predecessor, Vault Agent, actually divide and conquer. Octopus gets back to doing what it does best, which is managing the actual application deployment lifecycle. And Vault establishes a relationship with the application itself, or with the actual deployment platform. In this case, it's Kubernetes, for identity-based access to your secrets. And I'm going to show this later, but that allows you to leverage Vault for instant access, instant updates. The second the secret value is rotated, that secret becomes available. Vault Operator detects it. It restarts your container, and your rotation takes effect immediately. So that's super powerful. And that's the sprints. That's where we're going.
And that's where we want to get. So I think let's take a look at Walk now. Let's actually jump into Octopus and eventually get into HashiCorp Vault. Let's take a look at the Walk stage, right? So I'm about to show you in Octopus how you can deploy encrypted secrets with environment scoping, role-based access control around your deployments, something that's technology agnostic, and a single source of truth for your deployments and secrets, right? And Graham kindly put this screenshot together for me here, where we can see Octopus is responsible not only for the app configuration deployment and the apps, also the sensitive variables, okay? So we're going to deploy to Kubernetes. We're using Kubernetes as an example. These same principles can be applied to whether you're deploying, again, virtual machines, Lambdas, or any kind of container orchestration platform, right? So let's jump into Octopus. And I have a project here called Walk, right? I'm going to jump into there. I'll give it a second to load. And I've got a release created, okay, which is a snapshot of the deployment process that I have and some variables. And I've deployed that out to dev, test, development, and staging, okay? I'm going to go ahead and just hit deploy. Before I do that, quickly I mentioned kind of role-based access control. I can apply permissions for different teams to deploy, whether it's into dev, staging, or production, giving security operations that kind of belief that teams can't just deploy secrets to production. Okay, there is role-based access control built around Octopus. Okay, we'll go ahead and hit deploy. Okay, and deploy this to production. And this is it's kind of secret management in its kind of simplest form, right? We're deploying a Kubernetes secret. We're deploying a Kubernetes application. And let's do that print URL, okay? And let me just open up the variables where we store these secrets, okay? Give me a second to load. Of course, it's going to be slow. This is the problem with live DevOps, Graham.
Sorry, man.
Slow and you want it to go fast. Okay, should be there in a second. So let's just jump back. We can see Octopus is still deploying out to production, right? But let's take a look at the project variables. I've got some app config that I'm deploying, okay? But what you can see here, I've got a secret that I'm deploying, okay? And I'm replacing some variables in my YAML as I'm deploying, okay? Well, you can see I've got this scoping. So I've got a secret that I've injected for development, staging, and production. So Octopus is going to swap out those secrets automatically as I deploy through those environments, right? And if we just jump back, we'll see this kick off, and it's deployed my Kubernetes secret. It's now deploying my Kubernetes application. But this is where we're going to get a single source of truth around the deployment, right? I've got the full task log here of everything that's been deployed as part of this particular deployment. We get a status of what's been deployed to Kubernetes, and then we want to take a look at the history as well behind this. Who's deployed this to what environment, right? And what audit is around that. There's a single kind of source of truth for this particular deployment, right? And we should be just about finished on this deployment. So essentially what we've done there, Octopus has got those secrets as part of the release, and it's injected those into my deploy Kubernetes secret, okay? And this should be done in just a second. Give us a second. It's pretty big URL out, so I can just go and check this just to prove that it's now working. You can see there I've got a secret, my password production, that was in my secret variable, okay? So hopefully we can see how, just through Octopus, you now take the first step to managing some secrets, right? But if we jump back to our slide, okay, we've deployed secrets. I showed you the kind of environment scoping. I talked about the role-based access control. I've already talked about the kind of being technology agnostic. Now, you can do secret rotation, but it's very manual, right? You've got to go in.
Yeah, what do you do if you've got hundreds of applications, hundreds of environments, hundreds of secrets? Yeah, Adam, man, I don't envy the full-time ops dev
exactly.
that needs to manage that.
And we did, and I say there is some. I'll go back to the right thing. There is some nice things in Octopus that you can do to apply kind of variable sets to projects. So you could store some of your secrets in a variable set that then is kind of stored across, can be used across all your other applications, right? But what are some of the challenges with that? So you just talked about it. Secret rotation is hard. There's no kind of, it's hard to kind of generate dynamic secrets. Meeting secret compliance rotation, secret rotation compliance is going to be really difficult. Possible, but really hard. Lots of custom scripting, right? Those secrets are only available to Octopus, right? They're encrypted in transit and at rest, right? And Octopus is the only tool that can use those secrets, right? So anybody else who wants to consume these, it's not going to be possible, okay? There's not a secret audit trail like there is in HashiCorp Vault. Now, everything you do in Octopus is audited. So if somebody changes the secret, somebody changes the variable, somebody changes the application, that's audited, right? And then there's certainly no automated secret rotation. Again, it's doable, but there's a big challenge with that, okay? So, and, one of the things we call out in our docs, Graham, is, we're not a two-way vault system, right? And there are the tools. This is why you're on the session with us today. And this takes us to the second stage. Okay, I've got Octopus managing my deployments to all of my infrastructure, right? I've got the role-based access control about who can deploy what. But how do I get some of those features that I want, like easy secret rotation, dynamic secret generation, the compliance? How can I share these secrets with other tools and build a better secret audit trail? Okay, and this is where, okay, we can bring HashiCorp Vault in, okay, and if the Vault operator stuff is a step too far and it's not suitable for every single application or deployment type, this is a great kind of in between, right? Where we can bring HashiCorp Vault in, Octopus can pull the secrets from HashiCorp Vault and then deploy them out to the infrastructure, right? Because in some cases, when we talk about kind of the next stage of run with the Vault operator, the Vault operator is going to do all this automated secret rotation. But if you deploy your application to on-premise, like let's say, example, you deploy to 1,000 stores, okay? Are you going to want an operator in every single 1,000 of those stores connecting back to the HashiCorp Cloud instance? Maybe not. Maybe you just want to inject a secret at deployment time from HashiCorp Vault. And I think this kind of run stage is perfectly acceptable for this scenario. I think what I'm going to see in a lot of enterprise organizations is a hybrid between run and sprint. That's what I think we're going to see. Okay, so with that, let's quickly just jump in and show you the kind of integration between Octopus and HashiCorp Vault, right? So let's jump back out of my Vault project and go to my my run projects. Very aptly named, easy for me to navigate this session. Again, I have got a release that's been deployed to development and staging, right? I want to kick off and deploy to production, okay? And I'm going to talk about what's happening during that deployment in a second. But essentially, if I go to I'm going to go to Vault now. So the first time we've seen Vault, and I have got the Vault expert on, so I'm going to tread very carefully about what I say about Vault and the buttons I click. So Graham, if I hit something, you're the expert. You can tell me where I've gone wrong. But we've got a secret engineer, right? I'm going to go ahead and just view this secret engine. And I have got a web app folder, essentially, to store my secret for my application that I'm deploying. And I've broken it down into 3 paths, okay? Development, staging, and production. And in development, I've got this secret called application, right? I can see the secret, I see the keys token, and I can see the password. There's a password there for that token, right? And this is where I can manually rotate this secret right around Graham. I can create new versions of it, destroy it, delete it, but most importantly, rotate it, right?
That's exactly right. And to touch on the idea that you talked about with the folders, organizing your secrets by folder allows for fine-grained policies that target just development, just production, just staging. And when you authenticate with Vault, you'll get a token with a particular policy attached, and that gives you access to just development, just staging, just production. And that ties back to what you were doing with the deployment targets. Each deployment target gets its own policy associated with it, and that keeps and I know a lot of companies have this requirement where that keeps it separated, right? You can't have production resources accessed by non-production work streams and vice versa. So nicely done. You did it right.
And this will become more important towards the end of the session, right? Where I can I can set policies for just deploying to development, right? So I can give some developers self-service to creating their own secrets because the policy is just assigned to dev, okay? But just in the interest of time, let's jump back to run. We can see here from my task summary, okay, what's happened is we've logged in to Vault, okay, and we've pulled the secret back using this step here. And Octopus has then used that secret to then inject that into my deploy Kubernetes secret, right? So you can see again, we've logged into HashiCorp Vault. We have pulled the secret back that we want for this application, and then we deployed the secret out and the application. Okay, so let's take a quick look and jump back at my slides. So we talked about there, how we can rotate a secret quite easily. Okay, now one of the challenges with that, I can rotate that secret right in HashiCorp Vault, but my application doesn't know I've rotated it. The end technology, let's say it's a database, that doesn't know it's been rotated, but the actual application is, so it's not even aware, okay? HashiCorp Vault's got its new secret, I've updated it. How do we now make it so that when I rotate a secret, the app knows straight away, and the end technology, let's say a database, also knows, so it just kind of works in sync. And this is where we kind of say the challenge of this is, we can still generate dynamic secrets, we can have those secrets consumed by other applications. We've got this audit trail of different versions of secrets. We still haven't got the secret rotation, right? And that's the next stage, right, Graham, where we go to kind of the sprint. One of the challenges with this right now as well, there's increased complexity because we've got two tools. We've got two systems managing secrets. We've got Octopus and HashiCorp Vault. So how do we overcome that? How do we now get to automated secret rotation? So when I rotate in Vault, my app is updated and my database is updated, for example, and reduce the complexity. Okay, this is where we get to the sprint, right, Graham? And this is where I'm going to hand over to you to talk about kind of how we get this automated secret rotation.
Right. Yeah. So the key that I touched on before is separating the systems back into sort of what they naturally do best, and so that means returning Octopus to its core competency, which is application development lifecycle, and then connecting using identity-based access the application and the Kubernetes platform on which that application runs with Vault, so that you can get a seamless asynchronous update where when you are deploying your application, you're not disrupting the secrets rotation schedule, and vice versa. You can have a much more aggressive secrets rotation schedule than your application deployment schedule. So that means that your sprint project is going to look a little bit different. Your project variables don't have any reference to Vault because Octopus is just simply deploying your application as, in this case, it's a YAML file. I've got a container here. All it does is print the token. And then what Octopus is doing is, instead of, it's in programming, right? It's not passed by value, it's passed by reference. And so I'm now sending a pointer to the application that says, here's how you contact Vault. Here's how you authenticate with Vault. And here's the secret that you need to glue your the value from Vault to the Kubernetes secret. So let's see how that works. Here, by the way, K9s is awesome. If you're not using it, it's a CLI based observer of your Kubernetes clusters. So I've got an EKS cluster running in AWS. I've got Vault Secrets Operator running inside my EKS cluster. an operator is a Kubernetes workload that is designed to perform a certain action over and over. The Kubernetes kubelet is basically an operator where it's designed to make sure the proper scale and the proper resources are achieved for the workloads that are in your Kubernetes cluster. The operator is the same thing. Its job is to understand vault static secrets, among others, but a bunch of custom resource definitions, and figure out which vault hosts the true value of that, and then copy that value to the Kubernetes namespace and the Kubernetes secret. And so down here, I'm monitoring the actual token value, and what this application does is show you the token value right there in front of you. And then the power of this is that I should talk about the identity. So the Kubernetes namespace, it has a service account in it, and its job is to authenticate to Vault. Prior to this, I set up a trust relationship using OIDC, which is a JWT token-based token-based authentication system that uses public key encryption. And what that means is that Vault can know for sure that a request is coming from Kubernetes and a particular Kubernetes namespace using public key encryption. That frees you up to set it and forget it. This trust relationship it is maintained as long as the key that that service account uses doesn't change, which means that there's no extra rotation of credentials to keep these systems working together. And so that's how Vault Secrets Operator is doing its work. And the work that it's doing is to take this value and show it via your application. So if I create a new version and I want it to be HashiCorp and Octopus better together forever, and I click save, Vault Secrets Operator is polling. And so as I watch the decrypted secret here in K9s, I will be able to see how this one. Up here, my demo front end deployment has rolled out. I did a rolling restart, and my new deployment has already kicked off. And the secret that's as a result of the secret being updated, which makes my application update instantly, right? So imagine the time that this saves and the cognitive load that you're saved from by having all these systems just work seamlessly together.
No, definitely. And it's worth pointing out as well, we focus on Kubernetes here. The Vault operator works for Windows as well, right? So it's not just
right.
Kubernetes.
Yes, exactly. So conceptually, there is there's an ancestor to the Vault Secrets Operator, which is the Vault agent, right? So a lot of our developers, a lot of our mutual customers have a bunch of legacy systems. You've got a Windows NT workstation with IIS server running or something like that. Yeah. You can install the Vault agent on that Windows server, and it acts like the Vault Secrets Operator does, but for legacy systems. It keeps secrets in sync. It can restart your application whenever something is updated, and it helps solve the problem of connecting your secrets source of truth, which is Vault, to the actual where the rubber meets the road, which is your application.
Yeah, and again, there might be some scenarios where actually we can't have the Vault operator or the agent running in a certain location because we just deploy this software to our on-prem customers, right? And that's good. We can go back to the run stage, so we can have that hybrid of both. And I'm just going to quickly finish off before we jump to questions, okay? Because I've actually put a bit of a conflicting statement to what you just mentioned there, Greg. having the vault operator reduces the cognitive load, right? For let's say the majority of the organization. When it comes to a developer's got to change how he injects his secret into his application right from development. Okay, he can't say, okay, I'm just going to put mine in the app config. When it goes to stage of production, he can go get it from Vault. No, we need to be testing off the bat, right? But how does a developer get a secret? I imagine there's some kind of communication between the developer and the SecOps team and working out what secrets should be for which application, right? And it comes back to talking about this slide I brought up. Okay, developer wants to go quick, but then on the other side, he wants to go safely. And there's got to be this middle ground, okay? And it's about providing some of these services as self-service to developers, right? And I think that's where Octopus and especially some stuff in HashiCorp Vault make this really easy, right? And I'm going to jump over into Octopus again. Okay, and I'm going to my secret operations tab. And I can call, if you're using GitHub Copilot, you can call this using GitHub Copilot. But if I'm a developer, let's say, and I want to create a secret, I can just run this runbook and create a secret, right? I can create a custom secret. I can list the secrets. Okay. Now, this runbook, essentially what it's doing is logging into Vault. Okay, so I'm going to run this. Okay, I want a new secret, right, in my development environment, right? Let's say I want to integrate with Datadog. I'm going to create a secret called Datadog. I'm going to call it 50 because I'm pretty sure I've already created a secret called Datadog. But we're going to go ahead and create that secret, right? But what's actually the benefit of this, right? Jump over to Vault and go to policies, okay? With Vault, you can define policies on what tokens or what app roles can do what, okay? So I'm going to use this example, the Octopus application policy. Okay, through these paths in the policy, we can define, well, actually, this app role can access this secret in this path, right? Now, because I've created a runbook in Octopus to provide to my developers, okay, when it does this login here, okay, it's using a particular role. So there's guardrails automatically up. So your SecOps team or whoever creates the secrets can create a runbook to give to the developer, say, look, if you want a new secret created in your dev environment, go ahead, run this runbook. It's all guardrails. You can't touch production. It's absolutely fine. So that's a real nice way of making it kind of that friction between the people managing the secret engine and developers. And I think it's very important that the people managing the secret engine provide this ability of the guardrails to list secrets in a certain environment and create secrets. Because when you're writing some code and you need a new feature and you need a new secret, right? You don't want to be sending an email to say, hey, I need this screen. What is it? What's the token? You want to create yourself. You don't want to come out of the flow, right? Yeah. So these runbooks, which is interesting, I haven't done it, but if you're running VS Code and you've got GitHub Copilot integration, Octopus is one of the first people to integrate with Copilot. You can just tell Copilot, say, hey, I need a secret, run me the create secret for my development environment. And it's going to go ahead and do that. Okay. And that brings us to the end of the session. So if we do a quick summary on that, I know we come up to time. We kind of talked about who Octopus Deploy and HashiCorp are, what Octopus solves, what HashiCorp solves, the path to secret success, how you can start using sensitive variables in Octopus if you're using Octopus, upgrade to kind of HashiCorp Vault for better secret rotation. And then also have to make kind of your applications kind of vault aware, so you don't need to kind of inject secrets in your deployment process, right? And then lastly, I've just touched on really quickly how to make it easy for developers to work with secrets, enable self-service to create secrets with guardrails so they can deploy fast but secure. Okay, and that wraps it up. And I know we have a couple of questions. I've got one question, yeah. Clement, thank you for the question. This seems quite similar to external secrets operator, some noticeable difference. I think it's one for you, Graham.
Yes. So the external secrets operator is an open source project that has a pluggable solution for lots and lots of different secret sources. It's a generic solution to the problem. Vault Secrets Operator is built and maintained by HashiCorp specifically for use with Vault, and it represents our preferred solution for this problem. But external secrets operator is something that I used before. Before the Vault Secrets Operator existed, I was using the external secrets operator with the Vault plugin. So yeah, it's a viable solution, but I would certainly recommend, since VSO is free, it's installed with the Helm chart. You use that. It's definitely got the latest and greatest updates.
Cool. Thank you for answering that, Graham. This does bring us to the end of the session, so we're right on time. So sorry, we went right up to the hour. We've got a couple of minutes for any other questions, if anybody has any. But in the meantime, if you do want to trial Octopus, you can go to octopus.com/start and then check for more information on Vault. You've got hashicorp.com/products/Vault. But if there aren't any questions, Graham, I just want to say thank you for taking the time to join us and explaining some stuff about secrets that I've certainly learned over the last couple of weeks. I've learned so much about secret management, so it's been a pleasure for me. But thank you for giving us your time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thank you for having me. Secrets management is at its core an automation problem, and Octopus Deploy does automation for you, right? All of those tasks that you showed. I don't think it's contradictory to talk about VSO and the rotation the rotation tasks that you showed, because automating all these processes is a complex problem, and I think Octopus is absolutely a good solution. For all of this Octopus tasks. There's a million ways to do it, but why wouldn't you just pick the easy one and the one where somebody's already done it for you? I think that's what Octopus is all about.
Perfect. I think the point is with the kind of two tools is kind of vendor agnostic. No, neither HashiCorp or Octopus are tied into a particular vendor, which is really beneficial. So when people are running these automation tasks across multi clouds now, you want secrets and deployments kind of sit outside of that. But no, thank you. And thank you everyone for giving us your time today. I hope you enjoyed the session. If you do want to ask any questions after the session, you can drop me an email on adam.close@octopus.com. But with that, thanks, Graham, and thank you again, everyone, for attending.
All right. Yeah, thank you.